To get ready for the second exercise this week, we'll take a closer look at the variables that belong to a class. So if you look at here self.row, what we're stating here is that we're dealing with a variable that does not have local scope. It just belongs to this particular method that we're in. It does not have global scope, it has scope class. So it's available anywhere inside of the class. So that's why later I can again access self.row. So let's play with this a little bit more by creating another method that computes the distance between 2 points. So I can define distance, and as usual I have the self argument there, the self parameter, and I also want to compute the distance between myself and somebody else, so there is another point that I need as an argument. And the basic computation is you subtract one row from the other, take the square, same with the column or the x and the y coordinates, and then take the square root of the added result. So I want to take my own row and subtract from it the other's row, and I want to square this result. So 2 stars is to the power. I want to do the same thing for the column. And it's other dot row. Same thing for the column. I want to square this. I want to take this entire result and take the square root of it. And if you remember, the square root function was in the math class, so I will have to import math to do this. And once I have this computed, I actually want to return the results. There. So I've done the computation, and I'm going to have this return the results. So what this is doing is it's accessing not only its own row, but also the other point's row. Alright, so let's run this. So I've created a point, 2 points, and I could compute the distance. And let's print the results. Distance. And let's take P1 dot distance to P2. And as you can see, the distance is at 0 because the 2 points are sitting at 0, 0. I can compute the distance again after I've moved P1 up because they're not sitting in the same place anymore. So let's first see if it's valid, and then compute the distance. And then the distance between them is 2. Now, this is not completely interesting because I keep on adding or subtracting from the row. Let's also do something with the column. So one way that I can do this is I can actually go directly through P2. So for example, if I wanted to change the row that P2 was in, I can just go P2.row is equal to 7, P2.column is equal to 2, for example, and then compute the distance again. So the third time, the distance is 9.2 point, etc., 9.2, etc. So this gives you an example on how to work with the variables of the various points. We can do it inside of the class. We can access our own instance variables. We can access other objects' instance variables. Or we can do it when we're outside of the class, once we have an instance of the class. So the way that we access these variables that belong to the class is by going through the class.